these in my packet.
We're actually reading
September
a
8th.
report on the Algarve regional portrait last night.
Oh. I would have never even heard of it, so.
And they were in far better shape.
Right. I mean, just tired.
We're gonna have 25,000.
Of course, the market keeps collapsing
You're talking
underneath.
6,000 to 8,000 for hydraulic.
Might be living in a trailer park in Chaz.
Hydraulic line is $5 a month.
Probably 6 grand a tire,
Unless
unless you want,
I don't want two for a bill.
unless you want foam fill with run other type of run flat.
I think we got to do our flat.
You're gonna pay them other ones.
Yeah. They foam fill. I don't like liquid fill because they're still puncturing, you got an issue. And solid tires, you don't ever want to road it or drive around the parking lot. So I
Sheet.
think foam fill's the only way to go in there. 14 to 16 and a pop. Then we build a cab around it, which we can do.
You're signing in the wrong.
That's still gonna have.
You're signing in black.
And that's assuming then.
Oh, yeah.
Chip's got a fire history.
Nope.
That's my old neighborhood, man, that's my old neighborhood.
Is that really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's my old stomping ground.
Do we have to sign both sheets or just one?
Everett and Barb Cruz,
We're gonna have 25.
right along Highway 163, right over there.
If we can do a total 35.
We saw that fire all the way from Des Moines.
Do we need to sign both sheets?
What do you got?
Do we need to sign both sheets?
Yeah.
You didn't, you,
Sorry.
Anyway,
Everybody was okay.
my understanding is there's Kayla.
Even if you just used it to load stuff out of the yard.
well, you know,
Load versus unload, there's huge difference.
it's famous now.
So.
No, it's a joke.
If he doesn't bite on that, just say, hey, you can haul it
Writing
out.
with the wrong hand, but it's alright.
No.
I don't think it is worth it. I think we'd be wasting money. if
Yeah.
we went
It just-
to take a look at that.
It just goes back.
It goes back. Well, kind of think that depends on
Yeah, 'cause
where
if you
you
look
click
at
it a
the
little
market
bit,
right
so
now,
we'll just try to keep it on that.
Okay.
No, it's a lot. We don't need it.
And then I try and keep track of the attendance by who we sign in.
And a 42. Right.
Steve Evans.
So
Steve's on.
Danny Danny, I haven't
still
seen him
doesn't
for a
get us
while.
to the even.
Talking to Danny once in a while, I must not get there
So
early
it's
now.
not like
Is he
I'm.
counting
I don't
this
know,
week?
it all depends.
I've still got a rep.
And
I don't know that he gets there that early, but.
Did you
So
really?
pass it on it and buy it.
Doors
Two
can
for
unlock
working the three of us. That's what
Oh,
we're doing.
goodness.
All right, is
no.
everything on?
Yep, everything's
I
off.
was thankful that the power wasn't. You ready to unmute?
Yep.
South side or north side,
go.
yes, but if you have to park in the driveway on the east.
We good?
Yep.
All right, very good. Call this regular meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Jake, roll call.
Keisha Johnner,
Here,
Mark Ramey,
Here.
Steve McCombs. Here.
Would entertain a motion on this morning's agenda.
make motion, we approve today's agenda.
Second?
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Jake, any communications?
No, sir.
Very good, thank you. Public comments is the portion of the agenda to speak on items not listed on this morning's agenda. Board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future Board of Supervisor meetings. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Would entertain a motion on this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion, we approve today's consent agenda.
Second?
Ramey.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. On to business. We have a renewal application for a Class C native wine permit for Nearwood Wineries for outdoor sales.
It's just an annual renewal.
Yeah, we've done this several times, yeah.
They've been for a long time. All their paperwork is in place. The dram shop has been filed for insurance. We don't get it from the state until they file their dram shop, so everything administrative from us is in order.
Okay, and nothing from, I don't see any of our,
I believe that Jason and Bridget both had no issues.
no
on
issues?
taking-
Okay, good. Steve, Keisha, any discussion?
No.
I don't have anything.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Make motion, we approve renewal application.
Second?
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good, it is approved, thank you. Next, we have resolution 2020-63. It's government relief from the state of Iowa for COVID-19. Jake, is that yours?
I can, it's a collaborative effort, between people here within the county, but in short, through the CARES Act, Marion County was allotted up to the $421,581.77, for reimbursement for expenditures. There's a deadline coming up here this week. One of the processes in the application is to have the board approve that you would be willing to accept, any or up to the maximum amount. So in looking at what other counties are doing, they're approving the up to, and if we don't get there, we don't get there.
Right.
The goal would be to get there, and we're working on the worksheet. And this would be for expenses that are not gonna go through FEMA first, if I understand that correctly. So in essence, it's a budgeted amount from public health and public safety, and then you can kind of blanket an amount up onto that for the period from March until end of July.
Right, so the question I have, we accounted, when COVID started, we set up accounting codes, right, Jake, to,
We have
To
done some of
take
that for
it, okay.
expense, yes.
okay, so we know what our expenses were related to COVID and where these dollars will apply.
So I don't wanna, there's been a few different pieces for that. There's been some expenses for like plexiglass, you might say, or something like that, we put a code on the end of some of those purchases if we knew it at that point. There's probably some other things that we'll work with departments that maybe they bought on their own, maybe gloves or masks or something like that we didn't put a 919 project code on, but when we work on the FEMA project, we'll go back to the departments and see if there's anything significant to that.
Okay.
There was some COVID stuff direct from payroll, and then like this one is actually a more general portion of the expense for labor for public health and safety. So
Okay,
there's pieces to that, and most of the direct purchases were through EMA and public health, a little bit from facilities, but most of it was, but that's not included in what we're asking for here. That's gonna come to the FEMA side first. It's
Okay.
required to go through FEMA first.
okay,
This is kind of like an outside piece. Is that okay?
Would our upgrades that were, Chris just showed me a new plan for the new driver's license station that wouldn't be covered in those costs? Okay.
That's go from March to July.
Yeah, it's expenses. This initial claim is expenses from March through end of July. And something like that would have to be, to get reimbursed, and please tell me if I say something wrong, but needs to go through the FEMA process for application back first.
I didn't
This
know
is
how
for, they have a list of ineligible stuff, and this is stuff that's not eligible to go through FEMA.
So these numbers that I'm looking at here, Jake, obviously, I think it's based on per capita. Is that a
How the
maximum,
state
is that a
decided?
maximum amount that we would be allowed?
I'm not that familiar with how the state came up with how they distribute it, but I believe it is a per capita,
Mhm.
and it is a not to exceed.
Not to-
So if you can't get to your amount, your max in this first period through July, there's a secondary period of August and September. So there's a secondary application that can be put in. This resolution, to my understanding, will take care of, if we don't get there in the first one, then we can try and use some of this labor expense from public health and public safety in
Okay,
the second application.
okay. Thank you.
I,
Do you need anything from department heads?
Not at this point. We will, well, I don't wanna speak for Jeff, but we'll probably be reaching out to you, for that FEMA application at another point for stuff that has not been coded with the, COVID project already.
Ours probably wouldn't, since we're in a
Right.
different accounting code anyway.
Right.
So,
So we'll come back to you and say, hey, did you purchase anything specific for that effort?
What about payroll or anything like the leave or anything like that?
On this is, there are some fringe benefits, included, that can be included in this, but this is pretty much, the state decided that you could account for in your application up to 25% of labor expense. from the budgeted amount,
Oh, okay.
so it's literally
Only from public health and public safety.
only
Oh,
public health,
okay.
only public
Okay.
safety, and up to 25%, which our 25% of that is higher than what they're allowing.
Oh.
So we
you can
made
only
that,
do the max.
so literally all we had to do was punch in the five, the 5 time periods and the hours and the hourly rate.
And that's been, okay.
So we filled that in on the worksheet.
I have a question, Chris, and maybe you guys can answer this. So like the machines that we had to purchase, is that something that could fall under this?
We did not include it in this because, we didn't think we would need to, and we're gonna.
It's gotta go FEMA first,
Gotta
so
go that
that'll be
FEMA first.
the next thing that we are tackling with all the department heads, is those ancillary expenses related to COVID that need to be submitted to FEMA first.
Yeah, this is quite cumbersome, really, when you think about how it has to go through FEMA first and then,
And we're a little
Yeah.
bit the buggy in front of the horses because this one had a timeline associated with our first claim, the deadline of this Friday. So we had to jump on this one to get our first claim in, to get that funding back. Once we get that submitted, we'll move on to, we'll call it phase 2, which is the FEMA. And we got permission last week from the state and FEMA to, instead of public health submitting a claim, the county submitting a claim, EMA submitting a claim, we're gonna combine all those into one project. So we'll do the paperwork one time, and we'll gather all those expenses. Jake can funnel the money back to the appropriate funds when we get reimbursement. So it should reduce the amount of triplication that we're doing in the county organization.
All right, good.
I got one last question, so that I understand this. So we have to submit through FEMA first, but we have to, I'm getting lost a little bit in
Okay.
regards to,
It's easy to do.
we have to approve, this, but
So I'll give you my,
when you're trying to figure out whether you're going to go through FEMA first or this,
They're two
and then,
different buckets of expenses, though.
right,
this,
yes,
this is Federal CARES Act money that was funneled through the state. In my observation, the state had to find an easy way to get you some of that money. And they chose by saying you can get reimbursed for 25% of your public health and public safety wages. For the most part, none of those are reimbursable by FEMA. So that made it an easy
Okay.
grab for you to get some of that $420,000 back.
On the worksheet, Lindsay is, on the worksheet from the public health side, and see, tell me if I say this wrong, Jeff, but we're not including any of the costs of anybody that public health can ask for money from FEMA first, so we don't lose out. So the only expenses being used in this worksheet, this application, are for people that they can't go through FEMA for, so we don't lose out, because we don't wanna miss out on any of that opportunity, and we still got to that level. We still got to our level. I'll say that right?
Mhm.
that helps
been
explain
very
it, yes,
confusing.
it is, it's, because I just wanna make sure that I understand the process and, so.
And we, once we make the application, then we get assigned a caseworker, is that the right word?
Yep.
Which then hopefully we can maybe ask some more direct questions, but everybody's kind of in the same boat, it seems like, so. We don't have a direct contact yet for the application because we haven't submitted one.
Very good.
Okay, yep, appreciate it,
We'll see
thank you.
what we get.
All right. Any other good questions? Anything else? Steve, Keisha?
No?
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion on this resolution.
Make motion that we approve resolution 2020-63.
Second?
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Very good. Item number 3 is court operations upon return to the courthouse. Discussion and action. Ed, are you on?
I am, yes.
Okay. Is this yours or is this Chris's?
In coordination with Chris, I put this on just so we keep the ball rolling.
Okay. What do you got?
basically to bring everyone up to speed, as you know, during the COVID issues or pandemic, we've had kind of a slowdown on our judicial branch operations. September 14th is a magical day in the world of the court as of right now, as it's the date that the clock starts running again on criminal court operations. So we've all heard the right to speedy trial, speedy indictment. All of those things were continued until September 14th. So everyone's date between March and September was in essence put on pause. As we look to get back to court starting on September 14th, we have been provided a whole slew of new guidelines, suggestions, recommendations as to what your courtrooms need to look like and your court operations need to look like to be able to safely have court based on the guidance being provided by the judicial branch. That caused Chris and I to sit down and have a conversation about what we thought needed to happen for us to be able to have court the way that we know we need to have court and the robust nature of court operations in Marion County. So to make a long story short, we sat down with the recommendations. Chris took pen to paper, so to speak, and developed a roadmap, so to speak, for us to be able to meet the needs of the community and court operations moving forward. It would require some changes, structural changes to the big courtroom on the 3rd floor. We cannot socially distance our jury box the way it is. Additionally, this allows us to make some long-standing changes that I think Chris and I have been wanting to make as it relates to making it more accessible to individuals with mobility issues. If you recall, we have some steps that exist going up and down into our jury box. That's problematic. I think Jared Harmon, who's tried probably the most cases in that courtroom recently, said he hasn't had a trial in the last 2 years where a juror didn't trip getting in and out. We also are removing the railing that separated the gallery, so to speak, from the attorneys. That railing made it very difficult for anyone in a wheelchair to ever be able to participate in our practice. We made it work when we needed to, but it's not as good as it could be and should be. So we, in essence, are moving where the jury was to where the gallery was. That allows us to both be able to pick a jury as well as have juries sit for trial and move the attorneys' benches back into where the jury sat. That does eliminate public viewing from the courtroom as it currently sits, and that then will create a public viewing room in the courtroom across the hall. And then to make up for that loss of that courtroom, we are remodeling what is the law library, which the public never really saw, which was just kind of a hangout spot for attorneys as they waited for court. And we will do magistrate court in that, what used to be the law library. So I'll certainly answer any questions anyone has. I don't feel like we have much choice. That 3rd floor courtroom, we would not be able to hold a trial in once we move back. Looking at what some other places have been up to, just give you some updates. We've had some pilot trials, and we've seen some of the hiccups that are taking place. I think in Scott County, they called in 150 jurors, 65 showed up. I've been told that a federal trial could not take place in Polk County a couple weeks ago because not enough jurors showed up. So it's one of these things where we're gonna have to start to really increase the numbers of people that we're calling in, just because we know less than 50% are showing up at this point. And I think that will change over time. And I don't think we've ever had the same types of problems some of the more urban areas have had. Marion County jurors tend to show up and want to participate. So that's always been a great thing. We're just trying to give them a space that they can feel comfortable in. So.
Ed?
Yes, sir.
Would it be fair to assume that a large percentage of the counties are in the same boat we are?
Every county is in the same boat you are, and I'll even go a step further. Some of the counties that have spent the most money recently on courts are finding themselves in a whole world of hurt I'll give you two examples. The new Polk County Judicial Branch building. They have decided now that they had built two courtrooms, but only one will be used. The other one will be the juror's space. Story County, I've been told, is very problematic. They built a relatively new courthouse, but they built very tiny courtrooms. More courtrooms, but less space. They created a lot of courtrooms that were just for divorce trials that didn't need to have juries, and very, I would say very, very tiny rooms, and none of them now are big enough to be able to do anything. So we know that, for example, Winterset has determined that they need to pick juries at their fairgrounds, that they don't have the space to do that. I know that up in Calhoun County, they picked their jury in an old public health or Memorial Hall just recently. We've had a couple pilot programs. We've gotten some mixed messages from our judicial branch. We had secured, if you recall, in early April, I went through the process of trying to identify alternative sites for trials.
Yeah.
And Joe Merstick in Pleasantville was kind enough to say we could use the Pleasantville Memorial Hall for free whenever we needed it, so long as it wasn't being used on election day. I mean, very gracious to us. And then we got some feedback that that may not be usable because it's not in the city of our county seat. That they wanted us. The other problem is a lot of county attorneys like myself reached out to schools to use, and have found out, as you might expect, none of our schools are really interested in us bringing in 150 members of the public to hang out in their gymnasium for a week and a half and use their restrooms. So, yes, we are in a better position than some, Steve, just because we have better internet. I know that Ringgold and Taylor County, for example, one of the ways that we may do our public viewing is exactly the way that we're doing this through Zoom and the internet. I think Taylor County doesn't have good enough internet going in their building to be able to do a Zoom call like this with, 100% quality with no lapses. So yes, everyone is in the same boat from what I've been told. I think we're in a better position than others just because we're also already in a bit of a remodel. I couldn't fathom trying to do this type of project if you approve it while we're already in the building.
Right. Obviously, that makes good sense. If you're gonna do it, now's the time to do it. But has the state, have you got any feeling from the state that they'd be willing to help reimburse these counties for that cost? To some extent or fully?
Steve, I don't know what I could say on a public call right now. I don't think that's likely. I will say I've worked very closely with Christopher Patterson and Chris from maintenance. We are meeting with their IT people, I believe, on Thursday. And so the court system is responsible to ensuring public viewing of the courtroom.
Okay.
So the reality of that means that when we started to price what it was going to cost, and I believe Andrew One and I have a meeting this afternoon with the people talking about the technology in the courtroom. But we have a meeting on Thursday with court administration. Said the same folks who put in recording, they are picking the best, the necessary for public viewing. I don't really mean running wires because some meet the needs of our community.
Okay. Ed, I think the only concern I have is, I think all these changes are good. This is the right time to do it. We're in a remodel. It's a little bit fortuitous that we started the remodel and now we have to do these things as well. Any additional requirements post completion? That's what I'm worried about. Because we've sunk considerable amount of time and taxpayer money into this project. Have we coordinated with court services to say, look, to the best that you can do, is this it? Is this all the changes you're going to mandate? Because once we're done, we're done.
I agree with you, Mark. I'll tell you that I have been in constant communication with both Judge Mertz and Judge Reynoldsson, who are district court judges for the remainder of the year. I've been in contact with Mr. Patterson, who says what we've done is incredible and really forward thinking. I then went so far as to say, put it in writing from our chief judge, who indicated the counties can do as they wish, and it's not up to the state to tell us what we have to or can't do. So I feel like we've done everything we can. It's not to say that they may not, I'm kind of in a sports mood since football started, they may not change where the first down marker is once we've already started play, but, or goal line would probably be better. But
No.
Mark, I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I'm not gonna ever get in writing, this is exactly what they want.
Okay. No, it's fair, Ed, and understand the question too. It's not about trying to anticipate those things that we can't anticipate. Who would have thought about, a virus like this 7 months ago? Nobody would have built for that. But I just want to make sure that we've captured as much as we can, given the current state of play. And if we've done that, I think we can be confident on our direction and the expenses that we've incurred. So if you're satisfied, Ed, then I think we've done everything we can do.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, we'll sit down, certainly with some of the electronic needs in the courtroom to have televisions and the like, just because we are putting the jurors in the gallery further back. We'll hopefully have some answers to that this afternoon is my guess, so.
Okay.
I guess what I'm hearing is that was my first concern when we were talking about moving stuff around. If we actually had the physical footprint to do it, but it sounds like we do, meeting the current requirements for social distancing.
Right, one of the things that Chris has been awesome with is changing kind of the layout of putting chairs in. He is a firm believer in not necessarily wanting the fixed chairs as they currently stood, just because they're so much harder to clean around, shampoo carpets, those type of things. We're gonna have kind of the ready, set, go, which will probably seat anywhere between 22 and 24 people in the main courtroom, which will be more than enough for the jury to sit socially distanced and spread out. But we also will have the ability to augment that with additional chairs when we learn that 6 feet isn't the right number anymore.
That's where I was headed.
Or we have herd immunity or a vaccine. We are gonna be able to, without a whole lot of effort, put in additional chairs to maximize that amount of space back to what we are traditionally going to have in a way that still allows us to have the jury there, have barrier, and perhaps be able to put the public back in there someday in the future when life gets back to normal.
Well, it sounds like you and Chris have put a lot of thought to it, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. Ed, thank you. Keisha, Steve, any additional questions on this? It doesn't sound like an action item or a voting item unless, Chris, you've got anything that we need to vote on regarding this.
I'm compiling numbers right now, architectural design for ADA compliance, and just getting an all-around cost figure put together. So until such time as we have that cost number, which hopefully I'll have this week, we can add to the agenda for next meeting.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Ed, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. Yeah. With that, I would entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second.
McCombs? Aye. Johnner?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Very good. Item number 4 is a change order for our elevator project. Change order number 4. Chris.
So start that off, give you a quick update of where we're at. Originally, when the board approved the elevator project, you also approved a 10% contingency. That 10% contingency amounted to about $217,600. We're currently, with the approval today, if you choose to do so, would put us at $138,705. So overall, considering the scope of the project, the age of the building, and all the changes we have made for the betterment of public access and public use of their building, we're doing great.
Okay.
So things are on track. We haven't hit any major structural deficiencies in the building. Currently, all the major structural things I would love to report are done. So we're putting things back together at this point. This change order, if you look at first one under contract change as follows: CR 19 and CR 22. We have some of the best plaster contractors in the business in the building currently. This is simply fixing some of the plaster deficiencies we had on first, second, third, and fourth floors. In regards to fixing those things, cracks, bubbles.
This is probably not, construction related, just what, that was already bad to begin with?
Yeah, so we had a lot of, before the roof was fixed, the building had received water damage. Plaster and water never mixed, so we had paint bubbling. It's just more of a cosmetic fix to make sure that when the public accesses their building, they're not looking at peeling paint and plaster chips and large cracks in ceilings and walls. So this addressed that. 19 and 22 also addressed, as Joe and Derek replaced all the heat pumps in the building, the new heat pumps we went with are a lot smaller, more efficient, and far more powerful than what we did have. Just technology's come a long way. So that also included patching all the plaster around all those heat pumps. We figured while they were in the building, it made sense to utilize those guys. That's what they do for a living, and they've done a phenomenal job. So that $2,561 and $3,472 is a direct result of them fixing areas and replacing plaster around the new heat pumps. Old jail auditor conversion, which is CR 20. So we're talking about southwest side of the basement. If you're familiar, that had large old iron jail cells in it and was pretty much unusable for anything other than let's stack as much crap as we can into that space. So yes, I said crap, because that's pretty much what was
It's our technical term of the day.
technical term of the day. So what this allows us to do is, first floor real estate is at a premium, especially as we consider trying to streamline the flow of traffic, streamline where offices are. Currently, Jake's office right next to, on first floor next to Andrew DeHaan's office. So we're still talking southwest corner of the building. Currently, they would keep all their cages in that old jail space on first floor, and they would also do prep work when it comes to getting ready for elections and things of that nature. That's pretty prime real estate for offices, especially with the addition of an IT person. So what we proposed to do and got planned for was to remove that old jail cell down below while the demo contractors were still on site. So we can have electrical outlets down there. We made it so cages can actually go through the electrical room in the basement and stage in that area. Plus, Jake and his staff will have an area where they can solely dedicate election preparation as they go through the laptops. It's a secure, sealed area. Jake has already been down and liked the plan as well. So we're in a position where that $15,134 opens up some much needed real estate for us on the first floor.
Which is the advantage of the elevator going to the basement.
And the beautiful thing is you don't have to worry about carrying cages up and downstairs. So it really frees up all that large equipment can now go into a space that realistically we're not opening up or have any plans to open up for a public build or public office space right now. So we can move that stuff down, open up space on our first floor where we typically wouldn't have had the ability before because no one was going to carry those 150-pound cages with nothing in them up and down steps.
You feel that's a doable plan?
We have to have some place for the cages, and we can get them through that elevator and then turn the corner, and they cut some concrete in the electrical room. So it's a wind your way through, but yes, they can get there. And then the elevator is right there to take it up to the next floor.
That's an acceptable plan to you?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a room there that will be an office, and then we may do laptops in that next one or not yet. We'll see. It's pretty tight in that hallway to where the elevator is to that IT offices and stuff. But yes, those cages and hopefully the black boxes and stuff can be down there, and they're making it, but they're putting electricity and lights, and the cages or the old jail cell's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that we got the access to the basement with the elevator.
Absolutely.
It makes things a lot easier to work with.
Do you see these, hopefully these machines, you talk about the cages for the machines and everything, correct? Hopefully these will get smaller versus bigger?
No, I would not say that. If anything, we are bringing more stuff to the polling sites.
Okay. But I'm talking about the actual, in the cage, is that the equipment that goes into those, or is that
It's voting equipment, it's the precinct atlas equipment that we use to sign people in, the voting equipment, the handicap accessible equipment, all the supplies, anything that is in any, sensitive nature, you might say, or needs to be locked, they fit in there now, and then we wheel it in and out. So
Long-term, that's what I was thinking, I'm hoping that this would be a long-term, being able to.
Personally, I think that's a very good bargain to gain that first floor office space.
Yeah, and in regards to that, so with Nicole being hired in the IT department, what we're able to do is that first office space that was storage for cages and where they did their laptops, right next to Andrew DeHaan's office, we can add carpet to that room. We've got a few, I had made sure we bought a couple extra heat pumps in the event we needed to add one to the courthouse or needed a spare replacement sometime. We can add a heat pump in there, so she's gonna have heat and air conditioning, and that's gonna be an extremely minimal cost because we already own the equipment. We're talking virtually just carpet, and we'll have already one of those spaces utilized in the department she's assigned to. So I think it's an absolute right move to go.
Do we have to remove that interior wall, or we're gonna make two separate?
We'll just have two separate spaces. That interior wall is structural, and there's no, I can't see where it makes sense to spend, you're probably talking additional 25 to 30,000 to structurally change that space.
That's why I'm asking.
Those spaces are big enough, I don't think we need to even contemplate spending that kind of money to change that.
I didn't think so either, but I thought I had to ask.
Yep.
All right.
And then the last one on the list is CR21, paint supply for the county. So as you know, the ladies in the facilities department have contractually, we had second floor painted through ball team. The rest of the courthouse, all the paint touch up and new paint in the offices was on us from a county perspective. So we figured about 75 gallons worth of paint is what it was gonna take to do all the spaces that we needed to do. Buying, as we had been buying, we buy good paint. It was about $70 a gallon. We were able to get that cost through our paint contractor. That is all the paint for that $585. The exact same brand we were gonna buy. The painting contractor was kind enough to purchase it for us. So we saved about $2,700.
Excellent.
On paint.
Excellent. Very good. Good. Any additional questions, discussion for Chris and his change order?
So the change order, in regarding to this, but then future possible change order could be, would you be looking at, the courtroom stuff, that sort of thing?
Sure, so, depending on how we wanted to run that, I mean, the court space, because it's not really under the elevator contract of things.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I would say
looking
that's
at.
something we would just have the board vote on if you choose to move forward with it. That would not be part of this, so we
Okay.
wouldn't, I'm not running this through ball team. Any work that needs to be done in there, we may have some demolition done because some of the ornate woodwork in our historic courtroom, I don't want destroyed. And some of that we will actually retain and store in the event we ever go back to normal and we're like, hey, we really missed that really beautiful hand carved wood railing. So I will have HSI through ball team bid the actual removal of that because that's what they do. They're really good at preserving things like that. They'll do a quality job of it. We won't have to worry about having a demo contractor come in and tear that out. The structural removal of the jury box stairs, so it brings that to third floor grade. That's something I'd probably have them do as well. But when it comes to the flooring finish and the mechanical and HVAC system, we'll do the HVAC system on our end through mini splits. That's something our department will handle. The carpeting will probably continue on with our current local carpet contractor to take care of that space. So very little of this will fall under what I would consider to be an AIA.
Okay.
And it'll just be something we're doing alternatively. So I wouldn't lump that in to our contingency. I'd like to keep the remainder of that contingency open for, let's identify more spaces, which I've already getting worked on for bids when it comes to other old carpeting, other old flooring surfaces. There's some security issues that I've already had one conversation with that I'd like to consider some of that money taken care of. And then, as you can see, the driver's license station, depending if we seek reimbursement for that, that would not have to come out of our contingency for the elevator project.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Very good. Good questions. Yeah, I think the goal is to do as much as we can with the opportunity we have to get this building ready for the next 50 years or beyond. And Chris, appreciate you staying on it and getting these other items taken care of while we have the chance to do it. I think it's gonna, I can't wait for the reopening. I think it's gonna be phenomenal.
I can't wait.
So that's great. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve change order 004.
Make motion, we approve change order 004.
Second?
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Are there any updates? Mr. McCombs?
No, I have none.
All right, Mrs. Johnner?
Nothing at this moment.
All right, and I have none. We have a Board of Health meeting tonight, so kicks off post-Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
Very good. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.